I'm switching to English once again, and we're very excited because we have one of these beautiful underdog stories here on stage now. Our next founder did not found his company in Berlin, not in Munich, not in Hamburg or in Cologne, but in the wonderful city of Chemnitz, Germany. They grew fantastically over the past years. They started already in 2014. They now have over 800 employees, more than 2,000 clients, revenues, of course, in the millions, not the billions yet, hey. But what is really important and of course quite particular about them, that only 2 years after they started the company, they started to set sails onto new shore. So what I mean is they started their international expansion very early, and that to a market, as we've just heard, that is really not easy to conquer, which is the United States. Their international expansion has only this year taken them to Japan and France. So there's so many learnings that we can get and take in from this journey of our next entrepreneur. So please put your hands together for Frank Wolf of Staffbase. There we go. Thank you. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks. Short question: who knows Staffbase? Who doesn't know Staffbase? Oh wow, yeah. So like the one thing we've had, like I think 3 years ago, we are one of the first unicorns in Germany, specifically often also said in East Germany, and this kind of also is a bit of the interesting part of this international journey, because when we started off, it was typically the question, where are you from? And we would say, yeah, like somewhere in Saxony and Chemnitz, and nobody knew, and like people like, what, can you build a startup there? And our second office was New York, and the good thing is, if the second office is New York, nobody asks about locations anymore. At that point, everything is clear, right? What I want to give you is a quick point of view on the point of going international, and specifically 3 ideas how to change minds and change perspectives on how this could work and should work. And I want to do this. Before I do this, I want to ask, like, who here is thinking about going international? Show me quick show of hands. Okay, cool. Who here is already international? Okay, so very good audience. The perspective that I want to share is, in the first hand, is kind of mind shifts that are very interesting and things to consider. The number one mind shift is something that I don't like the whole discussion about going international, because it kind of shows you or lets you think that you are, let's say, a German company for a couple of years and then you go international and you become an international company at that point. I would rather reshift the mind and say, if you think in your journey, in the next couple of years, you're thinking about going international, you may already have a market that you want to go, but you say it's not the time now to go. There's a good thinking to say, let's now, on the next day, become an international company. And this is very easy. You don't have to go there to become an international company. So how would you do this? What we typically see is, like, people have, for instance, a German website, and we say, hey, let's be international and let's translate the German website to English. And usually that's a bad translation. It's just the German that you have. It's now you would probably do it with ChatGPT, and you would say, hey, we have an English website, so we're international. What's much better is, if you want to do this, to actually go where you want to go. So very early, like a couple of months after founding, we went to the US, went to a couple of conferences, went to the people where we thought they are all our audience. We had conversations with them. We understood how they talk about the problem that we are solving. We are an employee communications company, and we've invented the concept of an employee app, so a channel for frontline employees that are not sitting at a desk and to easily reach them. So going there, understanding how your audience, your international audience, is talking about your problem, and then coming back and then writing this on your website, on your marketing material, and really kind of speaking their language. I'm a big fan of the whole idea of, to say, you have your product and your service, and that's 50% of the value of the company, and the other 50% is the story you tell about your product or service. And these 50% is something you can get right to an audience wherever this is in the world right from the beginning without a lot of costs. And that's the first step. So before going international, it's having kind of the mindset to say, where is our audience and how do we want to talk to them, and really let's shift that. And the interesting thing is, usually you would say, how can this be very different or difficult? And I want to give you an example from Staffbase. So we are employee communications. If you go to a company here in Europe and you say, hey, do you care about employees and employee engagement and motivation? They usually say, yes, it's a big topic for us. Like, that's super important. Going to the US, we knew it's not important. The first question they would ask is, why should I care about employee engagement? And we were like, why don't you care? And they would say, well, if they're not engaged, I would fire them. And the point is that we learned is in Europe, because of the labor laws, for a lot of companies, they cannot fire employees. Of course, we know all that. So engaging employees, it's a huge topic. It's something they care about. So in the US, this wasn't a topic. And they would say, can you give me the ROI for why I should engage employees? So in the US, if you write a website for them, you would much more go to hard facts. You much more go to ROI cases that you give them for this market. And that's just one example of many others, how you need to retell your story in different markets and kind of get an appreciation for how much this can change for the market. So that's first one. And this means even if it's years out where you want to go, you can already start to put this out. And in our case, this worked out really well because we started to see some inbound traffic. We started to have some early interest and customers from the US. Our first US customer was a hotel chain in actually a single holiday resort in St. Petersburg in Florida. So we signed them up. They became the first customer. The second customer was a cattle farm in Texas, 300 employees, and they were using Staffbase. And then things started to develop. So we had a handful of customers when we decided, let's go to the US. We went there with German Accelerator. And I do a lot of coachings for German Accelerator companies now. And for a lot of them, I think it's a very interesting thought is, if you go international, you go to other country, you kind of have your desk there. Now you're not sitting in Cologne anymore or in Hamburg, you're sitting in New York, you put up your laptop. What's different? It's so hard to go abroad if there isn't anything. So it's so good if you already have the messaging, some inbound traffic, maybe some early customers, some demands where you go in the new country and you already have some things that you can connect to. Now, that's the first mind shift. The second mind shift is actually going there at some point. And at Staffbase, we did this 1.5 years after founding the company. And why did we go there? Because we said, what we do, the employee app, we don't see it too much in international markets. There are some early startups in the US as well. And we said, they are not further ahead than we are. There are even some agencies. We think we have the better product. If we should go there to prevent them coming to us in a couple of years. And the interesting thing is this actually worked out. Like there's a whole market now around employee communications platforms that was created. There is no US company around this topic that was successful in Europe because we and other European companies went there first. So it's really a dynamic we can do. We can go to other markets and grow there faster and really dominate the market and kind of win the market in the whole world, right? So we went there, and my second mind shift and the major learning is to have a deep appreciation for the topic of product market fit. Typically, when you are in the market, you think you have product market fit, you have marketing channels, you know how to sell, to whom to sell. What I can tell you, usually, when you go to another market, it's gonna change. And everyone says, yes, of course it's changing, but it's changing in so many ways. Just to give you a few ideas about the US. So if you go to the US, marketing channels change. PR is a disaster in the US, not working unless you are have a super interesting personal story, you're a Navy SEAL or anything else that can tell things. PR is a disaster. People will not travel to conferences across the country. The country is simply too big. If you say I do a conference in New York, they won't come across the country in many ways. A lot of the digital channels don't work because there's just too much money, too much noise going on. So figuring out marketing is an entirely different game in this market. We found also that our audience changes. Here, there's the role of the employee communicator. In the US, it's HR. There aren't any employee communicators in most of the companies. It's something that HR is doing. Role of IT is changing. In the US, they have kind of a checklist. They're kind of the gatekeeper. They are not too much involved in deals. Here, they are a super strategic force, and you need other things to convince them. We've even seen the kind of the tech changes. So in the US, the major employee comms channel is email, while here, communicators try to kill email and have the intranet and employee apps and other things. So on so many levels, there's so many things changing, and the major learning here is whenever you go to another market, you need to kind of have a setup where the person that's going there is able to learn about this and make their own decisions. The biggest mistake that we made along the way, and we didn't do this in the US, but we expanded to a lot of other markets along the way, is going into a market and setting there up just a sales force, just a few SDRs, just one marketing person, and thinking they can repeat what you do in your home market. This didn't work out at all. It was a lot of wasted money that we spent on this one. So the major learning there is, if you go to a new market, there's a high chance that the product market fit will change. You need to adapt. You either need to send somebody with a business developer mindset who can really unlock this market, or you need to go yourself as a founder. In other ways, it's not going to work. And the big challenge about this business developer mindset is super hard to get these people, and you need to be super lucky to actually find somebody. So if you're early in the journey, if it's a market you care about, it's a lot around the founder probably going themselves into these markets, right? So that's the business developer worked for us really well in Asia Pacific. And by the way, that's one learning we also had. It's a woman, she came to us and she said, like, I've seen your solutions, I really like it. I like kind of the culture you guys have. I'd love to work for you, and I would love to open up Asia Pacific. The interesting thing is some of the most capable and interesting people are people that are coming to you once you reach out, once you're visible in these markets, and once they see you. Once you also start to have discussions with partners, because it's a huge part of this, people being engaged and really want to work with your solution and work for you in these markets. Maybe one other really obvious thing is specifically in the US, if you go there and just say I want to hire salespeople or go to market people there, number one, a lot of in the US there's the saying, European startups who are coming to the US for the first time are a great place to retire as a salesperson. If you really had a stressful career, go to a European startup. They have no idea of the market, earn a lot of money, tell them things for 1 or 2 years, and then you jump to the next European startup. So it's super hard to go to these markets and find the right person who really gets your spirit and really does the things that you want to do. Okay, that's Mindshift number 2. So number 1 was before you even go, you can become an international company just by rethinking how you talk about your product. Second one is, if you go, be prepared that there will be a shift in the product market fit, and make sure the person that's there is capable of understanding this and has the freedom to act and suggest the things that they want to change, right? And number 3 is a very personal one. And we had on this stage a talk after lunch about well-being and about health. And I went to the US as a founder. I went there with my family, and I have a warning and I have an encouragement on that side. And the warning is, and somebody said this also on the stage earlier today, like kind of is like a sports. It's like extreme sports being a founder. And if that's true, I think it's even more extreme if you go international. Because what happens, you have time differences. You get up in the morning at 6, you have like 50 emails in your inbox already. Like, I hate this feeling. And the people you talk to who did the same thing, it's the same thing. You get up in the morning and you already feel you're behind things. And then you start off on this one, start in things on maybe in Germany. Then you start the whole day and working the whole day. So you're really working 12, 14, 16 hours every day to catch up with everything that's happening. That's not sustainable. And that's something I learned also there the hard way. So when we've been there in the US for 1 year, I didn't have any time to do sports in this 1 year. I kind of exhausted a lot myself, my health, and so on. So the major message I have, it's a marathon, not a sprint, as they say. And if you go international, specifically as a founder, it's very important to kind of think about how can you do this in a sustainable way. The same is also with traveling, a lot going back and forth. There's a lot of studies around doing an intercontinental flight is killing your sleep for another 2 days. If you do this a lot back and forth, like you have to have a really good biorhythm to make this work in the long term. And I think that's it's often neglected, and it's often kind of like, are you hard enough to do this? But if you want to do this in the long run, and I think really big, successful companies need to do this for the long run. Staffbase is now 11 years old. It's a huge part of this whole idea and should be taken into consideration. And the good one and the encouragement is, if you would ask my family, and Staffbase is now 11 years old, we are very successful. We are very grateful for the journey. And it's in many ways been life-changing for us. But still, if you would ask my family, they would say the single biggest thing that happened was this 1 year in the US and what we've seen there. I went there with my 2 girls, 2 daughters. They went there to elementary school. They will never forget this year, right? And I can only say this is also how I see it in terms of what you see in terms of the culture. Just to feel you've built up something in another country is something that makes you proud. And maybe this very small one, in New York you would meet other expats and there would be people saying, oh, I'm working for BMW here in New Jersey. And you would say, how did you relocate and how did you come here? Yeah, we have a relocation service that kind of was booking all the things, and I have the apartment here and everything's there. And I was thinking, well, I founded this company over there. I went there. I had to struggle to go for a social security number, for a bank card, for our insurance, finding customers there, and everything else. This really makes you proud because that's on a whole different level of really saying, I'm conquering a country from zero. And that's just an amazing feeling, and that's hopefully the key message I want to give to you. It's a big part of the fun and the journey. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Frank. Maybe just one question since we have the time. I keep wondering because there seem to be like kind of two lager, two different sides. One that say no, you need to have a good proportion of market share in your home market, and then you only go abroad. And then there's that other side that says no, like be international by the time that you're actually starting and founding your company, and then you move to new shores as early as possible. What is your take on that? Are there like kind of signs, or what would be the KPIs with which you would manifest, yes, this is a good company to take it abroad?
I think it's pretty much a discussion where you usually have an idea, you're solving a problem. Where in the world are the people who have this problem most urgently, who are fastest to decide? And usually that's the place where you can innovate the fastest and grow the fastest. Mm-hmm. And this might have been a different discussion 10 years ago as we did it. Today, it's the next 10 years is going to be AI. And unfortunately, we are living in Europe and in Germany, and I'm talking a lot about narratives. I've written a book about this.
Okay.
We are like, for us, new technology means is a threat. What could go wrong is so different to other parts of this world. And I would say, whenever you are in a market where you think about technology innovation, it will just be a lot about AI. Unfortunately, Germany is not a great place to be in. That's unfortunately how we need to say it. If not, you are in specific areas where you say like climate tech or hydrogen or whatever, like where you say that I know why I'm in Germany. There will be so many other places, unfortunately worldwide, where you will grow faster, you will learn faster, you will have more traction and so on. Okay. So I would say rather go international earlier and faster to really get the traction that you need. And hopefully this gets better. Hopefully we wake up with that one. Like that's totally clear, and we want to end on a positive note. But as a founder, just go where the growth is, right?
Super interesting. Thank you so much for sharing your very practical tips, hands-on device on international expansion. That was Frank of Staffbase.